Before I get into the actual review, I want to mention that I already did an immediate reaction to Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1, where I gave some nuggets of my thoughts, just quick impressions, raw reactions, the things that jumped out to me right away. But now that I've had time to sit with it, rewatch certain scenes, process everything, and actually take it all in, it's time for my full review, the big one. The actual breakdown of everything this volume did, how I felt about it, and why I think it's such a massive return for the series. So if you saw my immediate reaction, that with the appetizer, this is the full meal. My expectations going into this season were honestly unbelievably massive, like I'm talking through the roof, impossible to reach levels of hype. The original season of Stranger Things is one of my favorite seasons of television ever. It's iconic, it's nostalgic, it's scary, it's emotional, it just hits every single thing you want from a show. Season 2 used to be a season I at one point called bad, but I don't think that anymore. I think it's mediocre, definitely the weakest season, but it's far from bad. Season 3 is an absolute blast, probably my favorite. It's so fun and energetic and chaotic in the best ways, and Season 4 was that damn masterpiece. It gave us what is easily one of the top 5 moments in TV history, with the running up that tail sequence with Max and Vecna. So just based on that track record alone, my expectations for Season 5 Volume 1 were insanely hype.
William, you are going to help me. One last time.
And that wait made it even worse or better, depending on how you look at it. It sucked having to wait so long, but I get why it took years. You don't rush something this big, and as someone who watched the first couple episodes as soon as they dropped, then watched episode 4 after that, everything hit me like a wave. So here's my full detailed review of Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1. To cut right into it, I absolutely love this. It's unbelievably epic in scale, easily one of the most massive cinematic things they've ever done with the show. It feels like the perfect return after years away, like the show just slams fully into gear and reminds you instantly why it became one of the biggest pieces of pop culture in the last decade. One of the things I want to talk about first, because it's easily the thing that blew me away the most, is what they did with Will's character. I'm going full spoilers here, so if you're somehow watching a full review without seeing the episodes first, that's on you. The way they turned Will into basically an 11 2.0 in that final scene of the volume, holy shit. That whole ending sequence where he destroys 3 Demogorgons at once, I was screaming, that was insane. And when you think about it, 11 almost died killing just 1 in season 1. Will kills 3 at once, easily, and all he gets is a tiny lateral nosebleed. That's it. The scale of power difference there is insane. I thought the whole final scene was brilliant, and honestly one of the coolest things that the show has ever done. It sucks that it's the final scene, because I wanted like 20 more minutes of it, but as a cliffhanger, it's unreal. And speaking of Will, the opening 5 minutes, the ones they released on YouTube early, I refused to watch because they didn't want spoilers, and I'm so glad I waited, because that entire opener was incredible. Seeing what Will actually went through in the Upside Down during season 1, the claustrophobia, the shotgun, climbing trees, trying to escape Demogorgons, it was terrifying and awesome. And then the reveal of Vecna approaching him, then linking him to those shadow tendrils in that tube, genuinely terrifying, like visually disturbing in a way the show hasn't touched since season 4 with Prissy. An amazing way to open the season. Another thing I want to highlight is how they finally utilized Holly, Mike and Nancy's little sister, in a real, meaningful way. For 4 seasons, she's basically just been part of the background, barely doing anything. But here, they make her almost like a mirror to Will, another kid who is connected to Vecna or Mr. Watson, and she becomes such a huge part of the tension. Her actress absolutely kills it too. The fear, the confusion, the quiet moments, everything was so good. And Karen, her mom, oh my god, Karen was incredible this season. The scene when she defends Holly from the Demogorgons was insane. She almost dies. She's actually fighting for her child, and it really shows how much she cares. And even Ted, the guy I always hated to just seem like a lazy lump, he actually tries to defend his family. That was honestly cool to see. Speaking of that whole sequence, the ambush scene with Holly getting attacked was awesome and terrifying at the same time. And I love how they shot the scene where Holly and Karen hide from the demo, showing the POV from inside the bathroom bathtub. It was such a cool, unsettling detail and exactly the kind of creativity I love seeing from this show. The effects this season are next level, easily some of the best the show has ever done. The Demogorgons look insane. Vecna looks insane. The lighting, the textures, the gore, the movement. You can see why this season took so long to make. It's movie level quality, multiple movies honestly. I also want to talk about Derek, easily the funniest surprise of the entire volume. He starts off annoying, like genuinely obnoxious, but as the episodes go on, it becomes absolutely hilarious. Lines like "delightful Derek" or "I've seen what's coming" and "you and your men can't protect shit" had me dying. And when he laughs at his parents getting knocked over, that was hysterical. And the entire Home Alone but with Demogorgon sequence at his home was just awesome. The traps, the tension, the ridiculousness, peak Stranger Things energy. A classic character dynamics also returning full force. Steve and Dustin are still one of the best duos ever, and moments like Steve wanting to chase Demogorgon through a portal that's closing while Dustin freaks the hell out.
Do it.
Oh my god! It's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. We're not gonna make it.
I got it. Come on.
It's so good. Their chemistry is perfect, and the little friendship moments between Robin and Will were great too. You can see how her words later become something Will channels for strength, which is a great writing touch. Eleven was also badass this season, going to the Upside Down, defies everything. It was just great to see her back in full power mode. And the new characters like Linda Hamilton as the military captain, she was legitimately so cool. Great casting choice. The entire third act of the volume is nuts. I already talked about Will's big moment, but right before that, the Demogorgon storming the military facility and just slaughtering everyone. That was brutal, bloody, violent, carnage everywhere, way more than I expected. And what's hilarious is everyone always joked about the demos being minions in the last couple seasons. Yeah, not here. Here, they are insane. I also loved what they did with Mike and Lucas, both were great here, especially Lucas. The story overall is really enjoyable, the stakes are massive and the pacing most of the time works, and the new Vecna design terrifying, genuinely the scariest it's been. And honestly, I just loved bringing them back in this world with Jonathan, Steve, Mike, Eleven, all these characters I've loved for years. After waiting 3 years without them, seeing them again just made me happy. But I do have some mixed thoughts. The story is incredibly convoluted. On first watch, it's really hard to follow everything. There were so many details, so many lore dumps, so many plot threads happening at once that I kind of had to do research after just to fully understand certain pieces, which is why part of it lands into puzzles for me, because once you know what things mean, it's awesome, but to the first viewing, it's rough. And that brings me into the negatives. There is way too much exposition, way too many scenes where they stop everything so the characters can pull out maps or papers or diagrams and talk about their plans. And when you have like 4 of those scenes in a row, it just becomes mentally tiring. It stops the flow of the story and honestly makes things confusing instead of clearer. The comedy also jogged the ball hard in certain scenes. There is a moment where Mike and Lucas are in a tunnel and they call it Dick, referencing some movie I can't even remember. And Mike says, "Well, what if Dick's too hard?" And Lucas responds, "If it is, I'll soften it." It was not funny, it was cringe, it felt like rejected MCU humor. And almost every actor is in their 20s or 30s now while playing high schoolers, and yeah, you can tell. Like that scene in episode 1 where some bullies harass Dustin and Lucas comes in to talk to them. Lucas looks like he should have a mortgage and a family at this point. It's actually wild. Overall though, I loved Volume 1. It was absolutely worth the wait. Epic, emotional, brutal, surprising, and full of moments I will be thinking about for a long time. If Volume 2 sticks a landing, this could genuinely go down as one of the greatest final seasons of any show ever. Let me know what you thought of Stranger Things Season 5 Volume 1. Did it live up to the hype, exceed your expectation, or did something just not work for you? I'm really curious to see how people rank it among the Stranger Things seasons. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.